And it was to say, yes. Du Bois couldn't get anything out of the NAACP. He wanted a clock for his office. Cost $2. Walter White said, cost too much, go in the hall and look at the clock on the wall. Bethune took herself to the founding of the UN in 1945 and said black women ought to be represented at this meeting. This is important for black women in the world. I'm going there. She goes to San Francisco, convenes a group of black women to make sure that their rights are put in and the rights of women all around the world, because Bethune was a Pan-Africanist. I looked after her. She stays 2 weeks. Right? The bill comes into the NAACP, $2,000. The treasurer said, we never authorized this trip. How can we pay this? Walter White said, don't even hint that you're not going to pay it. Pay it immediately. Here's Du Bois trying to get a $2 clock. Can't get it. Right? He said, don't even imply that you're not going to pay Bethune's bills. Pay it immediately. If she sent you bills, pay it. Right? That's how powerful she was. Right? We celebrated here Black History Week. You know, Black History Week. It used to be Negro History Week. Where does that come from? Carter G. Woodson. How does Woodson survive during the Depression when nobody's buying his journal? Right? Nobody cares about black history. You're trying to get a job. Bethune becomes the president of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. Those days, Negro life and history. She said, Carter, you know all about history. You know how to run nothing. I'll be the president. She's the one that gets black teachers all across the South to subscribe to the Negro History Bulletin to get the money to keep that organization afloat. I know that because when I went to school in Washington, D.C., you had to bring your 25 cents for your milk money and your 25 cents for the Negro History Bulletin. Right? And I thought that was a school requirement, so I went to an integrated school, and they didn't ask you for your money for the Negro History Bulletin. And I raised my hand and asked them. I said, you took your milk money, when do we pay for the Negro History Bulletin? He said, we don't know what you're talking about. I said, no. You're supposed to get the Negro History book comes every month. He said, that's not a school requirement. What? Could have fooled me. I've been getting it for 10 years. I got them stacked up in my house. When I have to write a paper, that's where I cut the picture of Toussaint Louverture from. This is Bethune saying every black female teacher in the country, in the South, require that everybody contribute to Woodson's organization so we will have an organization to preserve the history of our people. Right? That's how smart she was. Right? She also began to collect the history of black women in the 1920s. The 20s. She said, we're an important people. Nobody knows that yet. Send me short accounts of what you do. I want everybody in every chapter of the National Association of Colored Women's Clubs at the end of the year, write down what you have done. Send it to me in Washington, D.C., and I'll keep it. Right? So all across the country, right, the only knowledge we have of what all these black women are doing, whose names we're just beginning to find out, are these letters and reports coming into Bethune that she puts in folders and files away, waiting for the time when people will know how important black women were. Right? That's how far ahead of her time she was. You know, an amazing person. You know. And the final thing, which really shows you, you know, how important you are. Well, you know she has the first African American statue in Washington, D.C., the first monument out there in Lincoln Park, you know, the statue of Bethune and the kids and so forth. Every time we do our family reunion, all of my female relatives have to go look at it because they say they pay for it. You know, National Council of Negro Women, National Association of Colored Women Club, it's their money, pay for that. They have to go make sure it's still there. Like, you ain't taking no chances, right? When Bethune got ready to die, she retired from the NAACP. She retired from being president of Bethune-Cookman College. 1955. She said, you know, I don't think I'm going to be around much longer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my legacy for black people. Okay? I'm going to tell 12 million black people what they're supposed to do when I'm not around to tell them what to do. You can't imagine a black person today doing that. There's not a single living black person that has the authority to do that you will listen to. You say, who are you to be telling me what to do? I don't even know you. You're not from my neighborhood. You're not from my church. Right? You're not even an alpha or an omega or whatever you are. right? Iota, right? You know. But when it came to that, Bethune belonged to all three sororities, and all of them thought she was a, Delta, and the Zetas thought she was a Zeta, right? AKA swore she was an AKA. She just had a box full of pins. Whatever she went to, that's the pin she got. Who is going to call her on that? Who's going to say, I don't think she's a member? Bethune say she's a Delta. She's a Delta. Don't mess. Hey, don't start no mess. Right? She wearing that pink and green. Hey, don't start no mess. Don't start no mess. Or it's the Deltas with the get the colors all messed up. Anyway, when she leaves behind what she calls her legacy. It's published in every black newspaper. It's reprinted all across the country. 1955. I mean, I got a copy when I was in junior high school. It was passed on junior high school. Right? And I'll give you short snippets of it to show you how. This is before Martin Luther King. Now, this is before Montgomery. Right? This is before Black Power. Right? This is before the notion, that we could move in the world in a way, that would produce the Civil Rights Movement and the Black Power Movement. This is Bethune in 1855. Right? She starts off with, this is before King talking about the beloved community. Her first thing is, I leave you love. Right? Love builds. It's a positive and helpful. Right? It's more beneficial than hate. Right? Injury is quickly forgotten, quickly pass away. Right? Our aim must be to create a world of fellowship and justice where no man's skin color or religion is held against him. Love thy neighbor is a precept which could transform the world if it were universally practiced. This is Martin Luther King's beloved community. 5 years before Martin Luther King. We know that. How come we don't know what Bethune said? Right? And she says, I leave you hope. This is before Montgomery. It's before Little Rock. It's before this. She says, I leave you hope. The Negro's growth will be great in the years to come. Yesterday our ancestors endured the degradation of slavery, yet they retained their dignity. Today we direct our economic and political strength toward winning a more abundant and secure life. Tomorrow a new Negro, unhindered by race taboos and shackles, will benefit from more than 330 years of ceaseless striving and struggle. Theirs will be a better world. This I believe with all my heart. This is 1955. Right? I leave you the challenge of developing confidence in one another. Right? As long as Negroes are hemmed into racial blocks by prejudice and pressure, it will be necessary for them to band together for economic betterment. Right? Negro banks, insurance companies, other businesses are examples of successful race economic enterprises. Right? These institutions were made possible by vision and mutual aid. Right? This is before people talk about buy black. Right? It's Bethune, 1955. Right? And the one that I like to, I leave you respect for the uses of power. This is before Black Power. This is 10 years before Black Power. Bethune says, we live in a world which respects power above all things. Power intelligently directed can lead to more freedom. Unwisely directed, it can be a dreadful destructive force. During my lifetime, I have seen the power of the Negro grow enormously. It has always been my first concern that this power should be placed on the side of human justice. This is Black Power before Stokely Carmichael. Right? 10 years before Stokely Carmichael, Bethune is talking about Black Power. Right? She's not some kind of wimp sitting around. She said, no, I know how this thing works. We got to organize ourselves, get ourselves together. Right? And then the thing that I like a lot also, she talks about racial dignity, and she confronts the question of skin color. Black people don't want to talk about that. Bethune says, look, I have never been sensitive about my complexion. Everybody said, oh no, why she won't bring that up? Right? My color has never destroyed my self-respect, nor has it ever caused me to conduct myself in such a manner as to merit the disrespect of any person. I have not let my color handicap me. Right? Despite many questioned burdens and handicaps, I have risen from the cotton fields of South Carolina to found a college, administered during its years of growth, become a public servant in the government of our country, and a leader of women. I would not exchange my color for all the wealth in the world. For had I been born white, I would not have been able to do all that I have done, yet